All right, you fuckers, strap yourselves in, because today
Oh, God.
we're diving headfirst into the dumpster fire that was the 2023 Formula One season.
This is going to be a long one.
We've got enough drama crashes and rule changes to make a goddamn soap opera blush.
And trust me, we'll need a few stiff drinks to untangle this mess. This season was more unpredictable than a bachelorette party after a tequila bender.
Let's cut the crap and start with the obvious. Verstappen and Red Bull steamrolled the competition.
Oh, yeah.
Mad Max clinched his third world championship in a row, shattering records with 19 wins out of 22 races. And Red Bull, they snagged their sixth Constructors' Championship, making it 2 in a fucking row dynasty anyone.
What's fascinating isn't just their dominance, but how they achieved it. Verstappen's a fucking prodigy behind the wheel, no doubt. But the RB19 was a goddamn weapon. They nailed the aerodynamics, had bulletproof reliability. It was almost embarrassing for the other teams.
Yeah, talk about a dick punch to the competition. Ferrari started strong with Leclerc looking like a real contender. But then, boom, mechanical failures, strategy fuck-ups, and a wind drought that lasted over a year. Ouch.
It's a brutal reminder that Formula One is a team sport. Ferrari had flashes of brilliance, but consistency was there important. Achilles' heel. Red Bull, on the other hand, operated like a well-oiled machine, executing flawlessly week after week.
Speaking of fresh meat, let's talk about the rookie class. We had Piastri Sargent and De Vries stepping into the big leagues. Piastri was the standout, snagged a couple of podiums and even a sprint win in Qatar. Not bad for a newbie, eh?
Piastri's performance really highlights the effectiveness of the junior driver programs. He came in prepared and adapted quickly to the insane demands of Formula One Sargent, showed potential but lacked consistency, while De Vries, well, let's just say his F1 career was shorter than a Kardashian married.
Oh, De Vries.
Yeah.
The dude got booted mid-season by AlphaTauri. Talk about a bruised ego. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. On the flip side, it was awesome to see Danny Ric back in action, even if it was just for a handful of races.
De Vries' situation is a cold reminder of F1's cutthroat nature. No room for sentimentality here. You either perform or you're out. Ricciardo's return, however, was a pleasant surprise. He proved he still had the speed and racecraft, even after his rough patch with McLaren.
Speaking of surprises, can we talk about that shit show in Vegas? A race on the goddamn strip under the neon lights? It was pure spectacle.
The Las Vegas Grand Prix was a blatant attempt by Formula One to tap into the American market. And it fucking worked. The circuit was unique, the atmosphere was electric, and the race itself packed with drama.
Yeah, but did the race have to be longer than a goddamn Kanye rant? My ass was numb by the end of it, and all those crashes, especially Stroll's little tumble, that looked brutal.
Safety is always a concern, especially on street circuits. Like Vegas, Stroll's crash was a harsh reminder of the risks these drivers take every time they get behind the wheel. The FIA, the governing body for Formula One, has made some decent strides in improving car safety with new measures, but it's a constant battle.
All right, before we get all preachy about safety, let's dive into the good stuff, rule changes. The FIA decided to spice things up this year with a whole buffet of new regulations. Some were pretty straightforward, like raising the floor edges to reduce porpoising. Yeah. You remember that shit from last year? The cars were bouncing around like goddamn pogo sticks?
Right. The FIA is always tweaking the rules to improve safety and create closer racing. The porpoising was a real problem. It was caused by the new ground effect aerodynamics they introduced last year. Basically, the cars were generating so much downforce that they were getting sucked to the track, then bouncing back up. Drivers were getting whiplash, and it was affecting car performance.
And then there were the roll hoop upgrades after Zoo's gnarly flip at Silverstone last year. They rounded out the top so it wouldn't dig into the track like a shovel if a car went upside down again.
Zoo's crash was a scary reminder of how dangerous this sport can be. The FIA thankfully reacted quickly and mandated changes to the roll hoop design. These upgrades make a huge difference in driver safety if there's another similar accident.
Okay, safety is one thing, but this whole political gesture bullshit was a load of crap. Drivers can't even wear a rainbow shirt without pissing off the FIA. Give me a fucking break.
The FIA's attempt to restrict political statements from drivers sparked a shitstorm of controversy. On one hand, the FIA wants to maintain neutrality and avoid potential conflicts. On the other hand, drivers want to use their platform to support causes they believe in. It's a complicated issue with no easy answers.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the drivers feeling the squeeze. The FIA also tightened the budget cap, putting the financial screws on the teams harder than a loan shark. And they went after those sneaky special project divisions, making sure teams weren't funneling cash into secret R&D projects.
The budget cap is all about leveling the playing field and preventing teams from outspending each other into oblivion. It's been a major point of contention, with some teams struggling to stay under the limit while others have found creative ways to work around it. The crackdown on special project divisions was interesting. Teams were basically using these side projects to develop technology that could eventually be used in their F1 cars, which gave them a sneaky advantage. The FIA, of course, shut that shit down.
And let's not forget about the expanded sprint format. 6 races with that Saturday shootout thing. I'm still not sure if it's brilliant or a total clusterfuck.
The sprint format has been dividing fans and teams alike. Some love the added excitement and unpredictability, while others think it cheapens the main Grand Prix on Sunday. The FIA is still tinkering with the format, trying to find that sweet spot.
Well, all that tinkering didn't stop Verstappen and Red Bull from dominating. They were in a league of their own.
Verstappen's dominance was undeniable, but there were some other impressive performances throughout the season. Fernando Alonso's resurgence with Aston Martin was a sight to behold. He consistently battled for podiums and finished 4th in the Drivers' Championship. Who would have thought that old dog still had some bite?
Yeah, Fernando's like a fine wine. He just keeps getting better with age. And McLaren, they finally woke the fuck up in the second half of the season, thanks to some much-needed car upgrades. Lando and Oscar were giving the big boys a run for their money.
McLaren's turnaround was a bright spot in the season. They proved that even with the budget cap limitations, teams can make significant progress if they have the right development strategy. It'll be interesting to see if they can carry that momentum into next season.
Speaking of next season, I'm already feeling the itch for some wheel-to-wheel action. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's rewind and talk about some of the most memorable moments from this year. Crashes, red flags, epic overtakes, the shit that makes Formula One so goddamn addictive.
Oh man, where do we even begin? From Zhu's terrifying flip to Verstappen's record-breaking win streak this season was a highlight reel of chaos and brilliance. Remember that clusterfuck at the Dutch Grand Prix with all the rain and red flags? That was pure insanity. Oh yeah, that was a proper shit show. And how about Sainz breaking Red Bull's win streak in Singapore? Ferrari fans are probably losing their minds.
Sainz's victory was a good reminder that even in a season dominated by one team, upsets can happen. It's what makes this sport so unpredictable and keeps us coming back for more.
Absolutely. All right, enough about crashes. Let's talk strategy for a bit.
Sure.
Some teams were on point with their calls this year, while others were making decisions that would make a 5-year-old facepalm.
Oh man, the strategy calls this season were a roller coaster ride.
Right.
Some were brilliant, some were baffling, and some were just plain boneheaded. Like, remember Ferrari's tire gamble in Hungary? They put Leclerc on hard tires in the middle of the race, and he went from leading to finishing 6th. What the fuck were they thinking?
Ferrari's strategy calls this year were questionable, to say the least. They had the pace to challenge Red Bull on several occasions, but they consistently shot themselves in the foot with their strategy blunders. It was painful to watch.
Painful for everyone except Red Bull. That is, they were like a well-oiled machine nailing their pit stops and making the right calls at the right time. It was almost unfair how good they were.
Red Bull's strategic mastery was a key factor in their dominance. They had a clear understanding of the tires, the track conditions, and their rivals' weaknesses. They were always one step ahead.
Yeah, Red Bull's strategy team deserves a fucking raise. They were the unsung heroes of the season.
Absolutely. They played a massive role in Verstappen's championship victory.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about some of the off-track drama. This season had more backstabbing and controversy than a reality TV show.
Oh, where do we start? The driver market was a fucking carousel this year. We had retirements, surprise comebacks, and a few high-profile sackings. It was enough to make your head spin.
Yeah, Vettel hanging up his helmet was a big one. He was a 4-time world champion and a true legend of the sport. It's sad to see him go, but at least he went out on his own terms.
Vettel's retirement marked the end of an era. He was a fierce competitor and a true gentleman on and off the track. He'll be missed. But his departure opened the door for some young talent to step up.
Speaking of young talent, how about Oscar Piastri? The dude was a hot commodity in the driver market with several teams vying for his signature. He ended up at McLaren, and from what we saw this year, he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Piastri is the real deal. He's quick, he's consistent, and he's got a level head on his shoulders. He's definitely one to watch for the future. But his move to McLaren wasn't without controversy, was it? He basically ghosted Alpine, the team that had been supporting him through the junior ranks. It got pretty messy.
Yeah, that whole Alpine-Piastri saga was a shit show. Alpine thought they had him locked in for next season, but Piastri had other plans. It was a classic case of a young driver betting on himself and choosing the opportunity he thought was best for his career. You gotta respect the hustle, even if Alpine was left looking like a bunch of jilted lovers.
Totally. The driver market is a cutthroat business. Loyalty only goes so far when there's a chance to drive for a top team. And speaking of top teams, we gotta talk about the budget cap saga. Red Bull got slapped with a penalty for exceeding the spending limit in 2021. It was a major scandal that rocked the paddock.
Yeah, that was a big fucking deal. The budget cap is supposed to level the playing field, but Red Bull found a way to bend the rules. They claimed it was an honest mistake, but come on, who are they kidding? They got caught with their hand in the cookie jar.
The FIA didn't buy their excuses either. They hit Red Bull with a hefty fine and a reduction in wind tunnel time for next season. It was a significant penalty, but some people argued it wasn't enough.
Yeah, some people wanted Red Bull's balls on a platter. But hey, the FIA made their decision. We gotta move on.
Exactly. What's done is done. But it'll be interesting to see how the budget cap plays out in the coming years. It's a complex issue, and I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of the controversy.
Now, before we wrap up this segment, I gotta ask you, what was the most surprising thing about the 2023 season? Something that completely caught you off guard?
Honestly, I think the resurgence of McLaren, they were a complete mess in 2022, but they turned things around dramatically this year. It just goes to show that in Formula One, you can never count anyone out.
Yeah, McLaren's comeback was pretty impressive. They proved that with the right people and the right development strategy, even a midfield team can punch above its weight.
It'll be interesting to see if they can keep the momentum going into next season. They've got a strong driver lineup and a talented engineering team. So who knows, maybe they can challenge for the championship in the near future.
All right, folks, that's it for part 2 of our epic deep dive into the 2023 Formula One season. We've covered everything from crashes and strategy to driver drama and the budget cap saga. But we're not done yet. We've got one more part coming up where we'll discuss the future of this crazy-ass sport. So grab another beer crack, open a bag of chips, and get ready for the final lap. All right, you gearheads, we're back and ready to wrap up this deep dive into the 2023 Formula One season. It's been a wild ride, but now let's look ahead. What's the future hold for this crazy-ass sport?
Well, Formula One is at a crossroads. You know, it's facing challenges from all sides, environmental concerns, the rise of these new motorsport series, and even questions about its relevance in a world that's changing faster than a goddamn F1 pit stop.
Yeah, let's be real. Burning fossil fuels and flying around the globe every other week isn't exactly eco-friendly. It's like they're trying to win a race against extinction.
Sustainability is a major concern for Formula One for sure. They've taken some steps to reduce their carbon footprint, like introducing hybrid engines and experimenting with sustainable fuels, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, those hybrid engines are a step in the right direction. But they're still a far cry from fully electric. Maybe one day we'll see Formula E and Formula One merge into some kind of hybrid electric Frankenstein monster of a racing series.
The rise of Formula E has definitely put the pressure on Formula One to embrace electric technology. Formula E has attracted a younger, more environmentally conscious audience and has proven that electric racing can be pretty damn exciting.
Well, I'm all for saving the planet and shit, but let's be real. The sound of a V12 engine roaring down the straight is fucking glorious. You can't replicate that with a bunch of buzzing batteries.
I agree. There's nothing quite like the visceral experience of Formula One. The sound, the speed, the raw power, it's primal. But if Formula One wants to stay relevant in the long run, they need to find a way to balance that visceral experience with sustainability.
Speaking of relevance, Formula One has gone global in a big way. We've got races popping up everywhere. The Middle East, Asia, even frickin' Vegas. It's like they're trying to conquer the world one racetrack at a time.
Expanding into new markets has been crucial for Formula One's growth. It's exposed the sport to new audiences and helped to increase its global reach. But it's also led to some criticism, you know?
Yeah, some people say they're selling out, prioritizing money over tradition. Like, who the fuck needs 3 races in the U.S.? Two's is already pushing it.
It's a tough balancing act. Formula One needs to evolve to stay relevant, but it also needs to respect its heritage and core values. Alienating the fan base that got them here in the first place would be a major fuck-up.
All right, so sustainability, new markets, the rise of electric racing.
Yeah.
It's a lot to juggle. What the fuck does it all mean for the future of this crazy-ass sport?
The future of Formula One is uncertain. But one thing's for sure. It needs to adapt or die. It needs to find a way to be both sustainable and exciting to appeal to both diehard fans and the TikTok generation.
Yeah, no pressure or anything. But let's try to be optimistic for a minute.
Yep.
What are some things you're actually excited about for the future of Formula One?
Well, the new regulations coming in 2026 could shake things up. There's going to be a bigger emphasis on electric power, which could lead to closer racing and more overtaking. And who doesn't love a good overtake?
More overtaking. Sign me the fuck up. I'm also curious to see how the driver lineup evolves. We've got some hungry young drivers coming up, like Piastri and Sargent, who could really challenge the old guard.
The next generation of drivers is stacked with talent. It'll be fascinating to see how they measure up against the likes of Verstappen and Leclerc. Could we see a changing of the guard? Only time will tell.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's our deep dive into the 2023 Formula One season, and a glimpse into what the future might hold. It's been a hell of a year full of twists, turns, and enough drama to make a telenovela writer blush.
From record-breaking victories to rule changes and driver shenanigans, this season had it all. It was a wild ride.
And as we look to the future, one thing's for sure. Formula One will continue to push the limits of speed, technology, and entertainment.
So buckle up, you beautiful bastards. The future of Formula One is about to get even wilder.
Until next time, keep the racing spirit alive, stay curious, and don't forget to flick off the haters.